Hi, my name is Nick, and today we're going to be talking about harvesting our homegrown vegetables and seed saving for growing next year. And producing veg at home is really beneficial for reducing our personal carbon footprints because we're operating in a closed system, so we're not reliant on importing high carbon produce. It might be air freighted, or we're producing it all at home, and which that has obvious benefits for massively reducing our carbon footprint. And just keep everything local. So.
Hey, I'm Nick's brother Tom, and this is baby Sorrel on my back. I'm just on dad duty right now.
So we're going to cover 5 main commonly grown vegetables. So those are tomatoes, peas and beans, squashes, and kale. So looking at tomatoes first, one important thing to do, now it's late in the season, if you've got far too many trusses like this, trusses are these sort of flower heads of the tomato where the fruit grows, and you really want sort of 5 to 7 at the very max. So we're very obviously now quite late in the season. So one thing that's good to do in order to allow for the ripening of the tomatoes you have lower down is to actually cut off some of the higher trusses, and that should encourage better growth, or better ripening at the base. One other thing you can do to speed up ripening, because you can see lots of green tomatoes here. It feels a bit wrong, but you can hack away at the roots a bit, like with a knife. Don't go completely mad and sever them all. That'll tell the plant that it's under attack. It needs to speed up the development of the seed to see the next generation through. I'm not going to demonstrate that now, but it's quite self-explanatory really. But and other things you can do are, so you've got some ripe fruit here. This produces ethylene when it's actually on the plant as well, so it's best to actually leave it on there, so it's going to help ripen other fruit around. You can see it sort of ripening in clusters here, whereas you've got very green ones up here, so you want to keep those on really, like as tempting as it might be to actually pick it. If it gets really late and you can't see it ripening, because tomatoes actually need there's a sort of temperature sort of threshold, I suppose, range within which they ripen. If they're too cold, I think it's about 50 to 80 degrees. If they're too cold, and particularly when it gets very cold at night, they're not going to warm up enough during the day. You might just have to pick them, but you can just pop them in a brown bag, like indoors, with a banana, which also produces this gas, ethylene, which helps ripening. And that should really help them ripen over just maybe less than a week. And you can produce a similar taste as well, compared to when they're actually ripening on the tree or the plant. If you see any tomatoes with diseases, like this is blossom end rot, it's not going to spread, but you just want to pull them off. My plants at home, this isn't where I live, have a disease that has spread from the actual plant, and it's kind of rotting the tomatoes, and it's spreading as well to other tomatoes, so you definitely want to get those off. But just pull off any diseased tomatoes. So when we're thinking about seed saving tomatoes, or really any crop, we want to be getting the best looking, ripest, so tomato in this instance. And so when we're actually saving the seeds of tomatoes, we want to obviously extract the seed and then put them into water for about 5 days. And during that time, the jelly-like substance that encapsulates each seed will rot away. And once that's happened, then we just put them on a paper towel or something, let them dry out. And put them in a paper bag and store them in somewhere dry, and where the temperature is stable. It's quite cool, and that's a general point for all seed saving of all vegetables really. Another important point is that this is an heirloom yellow submarine tomato. When we save the seeds from this one, it will be guaranteed that the seeds we plant next year will produce the same plant. If we're talking about F1 hybrids as the alternative, they won't grow true from seed. That will just produce a different plant, and it's clear on the seed packet, what you're dealing with. So it's important to take note of that if you do want to save the seed.
Here we have our lovely juicy ripe tomato ready to be have the seeds extracted and saved for next year. So in order to do this, you cut open the tomato like so and extract the little seeds, pop them in the shallow dish of water, and then after 5 days it should look something like that, where the jelly's been eaten away by fungus to reveal the hard seed inside.
So peas and beans. Peas and beans are quite similar in terms of the way that we harvest and save the peas and beans for the next year. So when we're harvesting, generally want to choose like young fruit, so they'll be sweeter, and unless you're talking about maybe garden peas where you want to leave them a little bit longer so they're actually plumping up. But here we have a runner bean, and really quite tall, and yeah, so this particular bean here, you can see it's really quite big. It's a bit too big now for harvesting to eat now, so you probably want to actually leave that on and let it go brown sort of into early winter, and then you'll have your beans in there ready to preserve, or you can dry them out. They'll kind of be dry already like that, but they'll just be big, plump, either pink or red. Sorry, pink or white beans, and and then you can conserve them for eating over the winter, or just have them dry, and then they can just be, you can plant them again next year. So I'm just going to pop one off and show you how to actually extract it. So yeah, you want to just break it at the point where you, either end really, and then just pull down the side the really fibrous bit, and then that allows you to get in there and split it open. It's not a particularly good example, but there's your white bean. And you probably could actually dry it at this stage, but yeah, it's probably best to leave it on the plant really. Let the whole pod go brown, because then it'll be dry already and possibly a bit bigger as well. But yeah, that's how you do runner beans. Similar for peas as well. Yeah, just pull it down, get the fibre down the seam, and just open it up.
Yeah, squash. This down here we have an example of a summer squash. Right here, I'll just pick it. And this is a courgette, as you probably recognise. And some summer squashes, they're usually thin-skinned, and they include others like patipan, if you've heard of that. And these can be picked throughout the growing season. And in terms of saving their seed, you need to let them grow into big marrows in the case of courgettes, and within the marrow they'll have the seeds developing, and yeah, you basically extract them, clean off all the pulp, and dry them ready to be used for next season. The other type of squash is winter squash, such as pumpkins, like this big beauty right here. And these generally have much thicker skin than the summer varieties, and these can be, because they have such thick skin, they can be saved over winter. So you can once harvested, they can be kept, and they can keep you fed throughout the winter, which is great. but you actually have to wait for these to till the end of the season once the plant has fully died back to harvest these. And in terms of saving their seed, it's much the same as the summer squash. You open it up, and within the cavities, lots of seeds, and you can save them. Of course, you can take off the outer casing and roast them and eat them. Pretty tasty. But yeah, you can also save them to grow on for next year. So here we have some lovely tree kale, big old tree kale. I'm going to show you how to harvest it the best way I tend to do it. And what you want to do is you want to grab one of the lower leaves, and I'm going to go for this one because it's shading out a neighbour plant here. So what you want to do is just grab it by the base of the stem there, and just break it off like that. And there it is. There's the big old leaf, the size of that. And then, but you want to avoid breaking off any from the center crown, because you basically stop it from growing any further upwards. And eventually you'll get this sort of like a walking stick. And this one's also known as a walking stick cabbage or walking stick kale. Yeah, there we have it. So in terms of saving kale seed, if they're healthy plants, they'll hopefully continue growing throughout the winter, and yeah, you can harvest them throughout, and then the following year they'll start to flower, and you can eat the flower heads much like you do broccoli, and then eventually those once they're pollinated, those flowers, that they'll create seed pods. So that, yeah, they're usually biennial. Sometimes they'll actually flower in the year you sow them, and this is often to do with stress, if the conditions are too dry, or so yeah, this is an example of a plant from last year. As you can see, it's very dry and withered looking, but on the ends, at the tops here, they have these seed pods. And these contain all the seed. I'll pick one off just to show you. There you go. There's the little seeds. And best way I've found to actually harvest these is to get out your handy pair of secateurs, and then take off the stem with the seed pods on the end, and get your bag and pop it in there, and then you want to rustle it about just to get burst all the seed pods, and the seeds will collect at the bottom. Just show you. Here. There's all your seed pods, and then whoops. Underneath that you have the seeds. So once you've removed all the old seed pods, yeah, you'll just have the seeds, and you can just store them ready to plant next year.